Hello, slow parenting family from across the globe. Well, thank you so much for joining us again on another interesting episode of of the Slow Parenting podcast on Nostalgia Media. My name is Richie Adewusi, your regular host. And today again, same time every Wednesday, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, US and Canada, 7 p.m. Nigerian time, sorry, West African time, including Nigeria. We're here to take on another informative, educative topic on parenting chores for our parenting duties and our relationship with our children. So welcome and get ready. If you're joining us for the first time, well, you're free to send us your comment, your questions regarding anything about parenting, even if it's outside of today's discussion topic, okay? And we shall get into that soon, but soon enough. But then, like I'm saying, if you're joining us for the first time, then feel free to engage, ask your questions, share your perspectives. If you're joining us on YouTube, you could leave your comments and your questions on chat on YouTube. And then you could always check on previous videos, same place at our YouTube channel. And please subscribe, support us, support this program, and help us to keep doing this every week. Thank you so much for to those of you who have made it a point to join us here every week this past 1 year. This is episode 3, season 6 of the Slow Parenting podcast on Nostalgia Media. So welcome. Today, we're going to be talking about talking. Every week we talk about talking, about different aspects of talk, Today, specifically, we're going to be looking at the nature of our conversation with our children. So, we encourage you to talk with them on this episode and not at them. Okay? That's another way of saying that communication, for it to be effective, not just between you and your children, you and any person, anybody, any groups, it has to be such that the information is shared in a mutually respectful manner by the parties involved in the communication relationship. And in this case, we're talking about our communication relationship, our relationship, bonding relationship with our children. Very key, because there's always that little temptation. Remember, we're still taking insights from one of my books on parenting, the 7.5 Temptations Parents Face. This is chapter 3 of the book. We're talking about the temptation of do as I say because I said so. No. Maybe he used to walk at some point. Really? I can't remember when he walked. I remember growing up, and I don't think I'm young anymore. He's never walked. Okay, our children could listen, just play along. At some point, they know what they're going to get is a lecture, they keep quiet. And if your child or your children, like my son, this when he hears this because he apologized. Well, but then again, I'm using it here not in any malicious way, but then to also say that I'm not immune to what we're talking about, but I also had to learn and then, grow out of, yes, lecturing and instructing and warning. Okay, we'd have to move away from handing out lectures and instructions to having conversations with our children, no matter how young they are, no matter how old they are. It becomes easier when they get old if you started doing that from when they were young. So they get used to you, become comfortable with sharing stuff with you. So that relationship is already built by the time they are, why should I be talking to you now? Could happen later. And in my own case, it did happen. I like to share my experiences. They are not always pleasant, and it's in sharing experiences that we learn things. Those of us who are interested in learning. I have shared on this program before a Russian proverb that says it's only a certain kind of persons that prefer to learn from their own experiences. Okay, people who have where they're going learn from the experiences of others or mistakes rather of others, and then correct themselves. People who want to learn from their own experiences, the road usually gets rougher, you know. So uh, as my son was growing up, yeah, you talk, oh yeah, daddy, ask questions at the point. No, you're not listening. Okay. And he will sit and you talk. Yeah, okay. Okay, I've told you what to do. You understand? Yes, you move. And then much later, he's gone from a preteen to a teenager to a young adult. And he records an audio message and sends to me. That, I could just sit and listen to you for 2 hours and not say anything. That doesn't mean that what you're saying. Oh, that was not a pleasant home run. I mean, of course, I'm not sharing an experience about somebody's, I'm not sharing about someone else's experience or some story, something. I'm talking about what happened between myself and I. And I listened to the audio message and like, of course, I was upset, but I sat down. I'm like, okay. So when we say, do as I say, will probably walk up to a certain point in time in your relationship with your children. Therein lies the example of that. When they get to the point that they feel, I'm lucky, really, I got a feedback. But some parents never get any feedback again. But the children switch off and they can't reach them. So I would say I'm lucky that he even recorded an audio and sent to me and said, look, yes, you talk, he enters from here, he goes out from here. Doesn't mean that I've taken anything that's said. But that wasn't how we started. We discussed, if you have shared my relationship, my conversations with him in a number of books that I have written, also always cordial. He was always asking questions. And like I say on this program, if he asks you one question, get ready with five more responses because it's coming. Yeah. That was how we grew. Okay, that's how we grew up to the point where it became like, okay, and then that audio message happened. I could just be here and listen to you talk, lecture. So we are not saying switch lectures for conversations academically or just for the sake of saying it. Experientially, it works better when you have conversations, meaning you have mutual listening, mutual sharing, mutual learning, feedbacks from all the parties involved in the conversation relationship, in the communication relationship. In this case, you and your child or you and your children. Okay? So let's relax and, you know, enjoy. Is talking is the lubricant with which, okay, is a conveyor belt for training, for nurturing, for bonding relationship between ourselves and our children, between ourselves and anybody else. But our concern on slow parenting is about us and our children. Okay, so talking, especially when it's two ways, when you're communicating, this mutual listening, respectful sharing, dialoguing, learning takes place, teaching takes place, trainings take place, growth, positive growth happens. But when we choose to, well, I am your father. I'm the one talking now. So shut up. I'm talking to you now. They probably will shut up. But when they get to the age at which my son recorded the audio and sent to me, some of them will do so, maybe nicely, like recording an audio. Well, the tone in the audio wasn't nice, but then I got the message. And of course, like I said, my initial reaction wasn't a pleasant one. But again, I sit and I counsel parents, counsel children, and listen. I say, well, look, somebody is asking you to take your own medicine. So, well, I learned too. That says learning doesn't stop. But there's some learning we should do well to, engage in much earlier, much earlier. Talk with your children. Don't talk at your children. Talking with your children means that the environment had to be conducive, the expressions, both verbal and non-verbal, have to be, friendly, cordial, and you're observing what you're saying to your child or your children. How are they taking them? What kind of expression are they responding with? If you observe, you see if a child is cringing at what you're saying. Is everything all right? Wait to hear. Don't ask questions and talk over the questions and continue. When you ask questions, give the children the opportunity to respond. That way, they would have the feeling and understanding that you care about them, that you are willing to listen to them. And they will feel much more willing to share with you, even when there are no issues, even when there are issues between them and some other persons. They'll come to you because they know you are available to listen to them, to give them the opportunity to say what they want to say, and you will hear them, and then you would engage them in a conversation, and hopefully, some resolution will come about the issues the child would have raised, or the issues you are raising with the child, because the play is two ways. It could be you that have noticed some things that you're not comfortable with in their behavior, in their studies, in their general outlook. To come to you at times when you are some other things that happen over business, over your work, you are touchy, you are, you could say, okay, please, we can have this conversation, but can you just give me a moment, or maybe, let me just get back to you. And when you say that, make sure you do get back to them or to that child. Okay? That way you are not transferring, you know, some aggression, some misgiving to the wrong person, even to anybody for that matter, especially your children. You want to make your relationship with them as cordial as possible so that you become their first point of call when there are any issues, instead of them going to look for third parties. Or the third parties could be physical persons around your neighborhood. You know, the third persons could also be the big person, the internet. Okay. Um, wow. we have so many feedbacks from community members already. So let's take the first one. How do I know the line? How do I know the line between giving necessary instructions and lecturing too much? You're still using the same thing, instructions and lecture. Okay. If you're well, you could give tips, you could, well, I'm trying to not use the word instructions. You're passing information to your children or to a child about doing certain things in certain ways at certain times, complete with, well, what you expect or what would work to benefit the child or to benefit you or to benefit the family or to benefit a group to which that child belongs. Okay? You are giving tip, you're having conversation. It's okay. That they asked me to do this. Okay, what do you think about doing it? I think the child will give you his or her own idea about doing that. Then if you have suggestions, there's a Yoruba proverb. It said, no matter how many new clothing items a child could have, that child will never be able to have more rags than the parents. We're talking about experience here. Okay. So the child is sharing, this is how I want to do this. Maybe you have some experience along those lines, or you could find out, okay, now, have you thought about maybe what do you want to do about this? The child says, okay, could you think about this way? You make your own suggestions. Or that, okay, let me go try that. Now, no, that's not a good idea. That's not how this is done. You're already putting the child off. Most of us were like that at some point. But we're saying don't remain that way. Okay? Even if that had been you, you can change. You should change. Okay? No, that's not. Where did you learn how to do that from? No. Okay, this is the idea. Okay, do you consider this other approach? You give those suggestions. You're most likely going to hear, thank you, Dad, or thank you, Mom. And they go off. They go off to go to try. He said, sometimes I generally need to explain things repeatedly. There's nothing wrong with repeating your suggestions. Okay? It's not, the challenge is not in the repetition. The challenge is in the way the repetition happens. If you have tinges of anger and frustration coloring the repetition, the child too gets frustrated or maybe even switch off. You're just there vibrating. The child is not taking what you're saying. But out of respect, he just sits there or stands there, hands behind or by the side or looking very gentle. Nothing has happened. No learning takes place. So the repetition is not the challenge. The thing is, I'll be happy to repeat an instruction or a suggestion. That I didn't understand that. Well, but when you see the child is maybe trying to be too smart, point that out too. That is not going to be helpful because again, you have other things to do. If he didn't understand genuinely, please repeat, no matter how many times. Remember, what you want is a result. There's a desired result you are working at. So repeating the suggestions you're making or the directive or how to, uh, tips you are giving should not be. If genuinely you are not in a mood or, okay, the particular time for that repetition that the child wants is not conducive, let the child know. So can we talk about this later? And please do get back to talking about that issue. So it's not a case of giving necessary instructions and lecturing. What's the difference between instruction and lecture? In in parent-child relationship that we're talking about now, make it conversational, not instructions, not lectures. Okay. When my child starts asking why repeatedly, I get frustrated. How do I stay patient without feeling like I am losing control? You stay patient by being know yourself, okay? And be sincere about knowing yourself with your child or with your children. Wait, John, mommy doesn't like it now. I explained this to you before. Yes, mom, but I didn't understand it. You should be able to have an understanding. You know your child. You should know your child. You should know your children. If the child is being sincere, I didn't understand what you're saying, why would you get frustrated? Like I said earlier, if the atmosphere, your mood is not conducive for continuing that conversation, let the child know that you could revisit the issue later. And please do revisit the issue. Don't correct or make suggestions or give tips when you are angry or when you're upset or when something else is bothering you that has nothing to do with the child. Most likely, the children will notice, the child will notice you're not paying attention. But again, it's not the child's fault, but the child will take it that you don't have time for him or her. You're always touchy. I have shared on this program when someone said to me that I asked, why don't you guys play with me? That you're always angry, you're always shouting. Wow. I had to correct myself. This is several years. The person who said that then, the person who gave that feedback that you're always angry, you're always shouting, is a mother of 2 children now. So maybe she too now has an understanding of those things that can frustrate you, and then maybe you lose it a little bit. So, but we're just saying that we are human. Instead of losing it, letting that frustration boil over, get out, have that, feedback. Okay, can we talk about this later? Nicely, okay? I know it might not be easy to do that all of the time, but let's try. Again, you're also showing your child or your children that acting out your frustration doesn't get anything solved. Because at this time, they was not asking you, and you're not feeling comfortable about going into that conversation at that time. It could be the other way around. It could be the child, stressing over something else at school with some chores, and then you are having a conversation. You want to have a conversation with the child, and the child is acting up. It's not you. Something else is happening. You should also, okay, this is not a good time. Can we talk about this later? Okay, mom. Or I can see this is not a good time to talk about this. Those are the times that because I said so happen, because I am daddy, because I am mommy happen. Let's try to resist the temptation of getting to that because I'm the mommy, I'm your father, you have to listen to me. When we start getting to talk in that way, we've lost it. The child could keep quiet, the children could keep quiet. It doesn't mean they're passing on anything. Nothing meaningful might happen in a positive way. Okay. This other community member here said, when I am in a hurry, do I really have the luxury of conversation over comments? Have conversations at times when it's appropriate, when it's convenient, when it's, okay for everybody, not just you, even for the child, even for the children. Okay? There's a strategy we advise, counsel parents, even the children to have. Thank God for mobile applications and all of that. Send a message. Okay? Send a message. John, um, I thought we agreed you wash the car at 10 a.m. Well, it's 9:30 and I have to be out. Send the text. Because by the time you're saying it's 9:30, you have 30 minutes, I don't know what kind of car. I don't know how possible it will be to finish washing the car in 30 minutes, which means that you probably were getting upset already. But if you send a text message, the child sees the text message, oh, wow, sorry, I was doing something else or whatever. The child could go off or could agree to have the car washed another time so you don't go late, go to where you go. You could use virtual conversational devices, your mobile phone, whichever application, whichever messaging app. And um, sometimes to even when we are sending text messages, uh, certain use of word or use of certain words in certain ways might still indicate that we are upset. Let's try to control. We're not saying don't be human. Once in a while, things can happen um, in ways that we are not proud about or of. So when you notice that at the appropriate time, apologize. There's nothing wrong with you apologizing to your children about your own behavior or your response over an issue. Apologize and then, okay, can we, that wasn't a good time. Sorry the way I responded. Can we discuss about this now? The child would appreciate that as well. Okay. That is your cleaning up the talking at them and then talking with them. Okay. Sorry, my response the other time was there are so many things that are going on that time, but it's not your fault. It's not about you. But then I didn't respond appropriately. So can we discuss this now or maybe later? Okay. Always learn to apologize. The children are also learning that too, that they get to know that, having to apologize for any misdemeanor or wrong dispositions or wrongdoings or inappropriate behavior doesn't diminish you in any way. Okay. It shows that you're responsible. They also learn that aspect of being responsible to others, being accountable to others. Okay. Mm. Another member here, community member here, say, how can both parents stay aligned in this, especially when one of us is naturally more old school or harsh? Like we say on this program, play good cop and bad cop. You already know, you guys already know your limitations. So let the person, depending on what the issue is, okay? I like this question very much because again, we say on this slow parenting program here that parenting is a teamwork, needs to remain a teamwork. So long as two of you agree on what needs to be done, the person that's more patient than the other one, let that person take the lead. Now, when it also comes to something that you want that uh, Superman, Superwoman disposition, which one out of the two of you, the children had an understanding that when mom is talking, better listen. Let her stay there and give the moral support by being there. Both of you are standing. The worst case scenario is they will accuse two of you of ganging up against them. Nothing spoiled. Okay. We know you always support your wife. Okay. But support, no, it's your mom is telling you the right thing. We know you will say she's saying the right thing. The two of you need to remain teams, but don't remain teams wrongly. Don't remain teams with talking at them. Okay? People don't always behave the same way at the same time. Our dispositions, even twins. I know my immediate younger brothers are twins. One is a peacemaker, the other one is firebrand. So, in the same way, couples would know who the children prefer to approach about certain issues. Don't force it. Don't say, why do you always go? No. Feel good that the children even pick one of you to approach. Let the person that they prefer to approach over that particular issue, and then share with your partner, and then agree on your mutual common front response to the issue. And let the person that got to meet also be the one to deliver the, whether judgment or verdict or cookies, whichever one is applicable. Okay. So there's no need to contest attention. Okay. Over your contest for attention over your children. Don't do that. They notice and they will play both of you. They will use it against you at some point. When they discover that you don't agree on things, they'll go to the person that they feel is, a lot more understanding in quote. Okay. And the next time somebody will tell you, about mommy gave us permission. And because you are feeling with the children are they are aligning with you, you say yes, but you did not. It leads to other things, some other points, and you will not like what the result will be. At the time they are quoting you out of context or misquoting you to gain a reprieve from their dad or their mom in whichever case, and then you'll be put in a spot because you've been used to indulging, because that's what that is, indulgence. Okay. We are not deviating. We're saying the children would always prefer the person that seems to listen to them more. Okay. Meaning you two should learn to listen to them and then give your feedback. If you find it that difficult to do, and it's your partner that has more patience and all of, then let the partner, but then don't work against yourself. Okay. What are some specific phrases I can use to replace the usual go and do it now? We agreed. Remember what we say on this program about okay, you remember. Okay. Rules. You agree on boundaries. You set boundaries. Remember, we agreed we should do this in so ways at so time. So you are repeating, you are not, it's not like go and do this now. You are quoting a law. You are quoting what you agreed on. So it's not you. This is not a collective thing. So the individual will know that he or she is the one that gone out of line. Okay? Not because I said so, it's because boundaries, our agreement is that you do not get up from your bed without making it. Okay? You don't finish eating and dump the dishes on the kitchen sink without washing. If that is what you agreed on, use and wash. Or it's somebody's turn to wash on Tuesdays. Somebody's turn to wash on, okay, put the dishes there, the person who's done. But we agreed you are the one who should do the dishes. What's going on? You're just reminding the person. It's not go and do it now. Oh, sorry, mom, sorry, dad. The person will go do it. It's up to that child now to give the reason for, okay, well, you've not done it that time. The sink is too full. I'll have to do some cooking. And that place is not duty. It was or it is to do the dishes. No, he has to go do the dishes because you need to, there's another reason now. Okay. You're going to need a clean kitchen to cook. And if the kitchen is not clean and everybody is hungry, well, mom, we are hungry. Well, the kitchen sink is not, it's not conducive for me to enter the kitchen. John, why? Go wash. We are hungry. Mom is not cooking because he said, John will go and wash the dishes. But it's not you. You've not said, John, go now and wash the kitchen. They are two different things. Okay. So, it says because I said so, type rest something. Because you said so, because you said so, our rules say so. Remember, we agreed. You've already said what needs to be said, okay? Sometimes I feel like if I start asking my child too many questions, they will think they have too much power. How? I feel like if I start asking my child too many questions, they will think they have too much power. If you're asking them questions, that's a little, or if they are the ones asking too much questions. I don't think so. Again, asking questions that you're probing, you want to know, you want responses. So when you ask questions, maybe you are the one feeling you're asking too much questions. Don't feel you're asking too much questions. You've not gotten the response you need. If you need to probe further to get my understanding of this question is not that is the child that's feeling frustrated about being asked too many questions. It's that you are feeling that asking your child several questions to get to bottom of whatever the issue is making you feel that you are giving the child too much power. No. Once you get to that place of feeling there's a power struggle, you need to help yourself get out of that particular mindset. There shouldn't be any power struggle. There's no power. You want your children to be the best versions of themselves. Remember, that's the goal. The goal is not who has power. Your power becomes maybe now. It's about now. It's about having the conversation as against the instruction. We agreed you should do it. Go and do it now. There's no need for that. Okay? And remember, we also said when you set boundaries, don't just set boundaries. Set boundaries and put consequences and rewards. And when we also said that when you are talking about consequences, do not set punitive consequences that deprive the children of basic needs. Use wants as your go-to consequences. Your pocket money, play time, visit time, things like that would not kill anybody if you withdraw them periodically because somebody did not behave in a particular way. Okay? All right. Well, we are going to, season 6. This is the third episode. We started this episode 1, season 6. Produce a short video to try to encapsulate the things we have shared or we're sharing in this particular episode in a way that it's your takeaway. Again, by the time you are done watching the video, just know that you could access that same video. You could download it at our YouTube channel. It's free at this moment, at this time. It's still free. You could still subscribe to the channel for free. You could still download our videos for free. You could share to your friends for free at this time. Okay, so we're going to take a short break now for you to see our video, talk with them, not at them. See you at the other side of the video.
Dear parents, please watch until the end because one simple shift in attention and focus could completely change how your children listen to you. There was a time when, because I said so, worked then, or did it. But today, even at 3 years old, children ask why. They are not being stubborn. They want to understand that they want to be understood. They want to feel heard. Challenges begin when parents respond with lectures and endless instructions. Slowly, trust fades. And when children do not feel heard at home, they start searching for attention elsewhere, often from voices that are not safe, because they are not you, and they might not know about your cultural, traditional, family, and ethical beliefs and values. Here's how to fix it. 1. Replace lectures with conversations. Talk with them, not at them. 2. Ask questions. Let them express what they are thinking and feeling. 3. Listen before speaking. Children trust those who hear them first. 4. Remember this advice from Dr. Richie Adewusi in his book, 7.5 Temptations Parents Face. You need to resist the temptation of delivering lectures instead of earning respect by listening and learning and sharing. 5. Build trust early. Strong connections now keep harmful outside voices away later. Share this with a parent who needs to hear it. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more real parenting conversations. Not just hacks, but heart.
Welcome back. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. And like I said, you can always get back to it outside of the live stream. All right. Yes, there are enormous benefits, okay, from having to share, having to have conversations instead of giving instructions and lectures. Just like your children want to know that you pay attention to what they are saying, how they are feeling, or how they look. They want to know that you have the time and you give the opportunity for them to tell you how they feel. They want to know you are listening. And in your feedback, they want to feel and have an understanding that you got what they are saying. And then you are responding in ways that are helpful to them. If what they are talking about is something that's not going to benefit them, say so nicely as well. My analogy is always like, okay, look, is it this bus you are planning to get into or that you're already on? I know every bus stop that this bus is going to stop at. And letting you know that it will be more helpful to you to get off that bus at this particular bus stop because you don't want to get to the last bus stop. Meaning this behavior that you are exhibiting is not going to be very helpful to you if you do not stop, find a way to, correct yourself, stop this before it leads to what would not be beneficial to you, to the family, to the society. That's the last bus stop. I know that bus. I have been inside it myself. And the last bus stop, you don't want to get there. Okay? So let's find fun ways to communicate with our children. It's not always easy. But what exactly about life is easy? What? Focus on the results that is a target, where the children need to be, where your family need to be, what kind of role they need to play in society, the kind of behavior that will help them to be able to play those roles, and the kind of behaviors that would inhibit or limit them from eventually being able to play those roles in society. Be clear. Don't be ambiguous about anything. Don't exhibit anger, exhibit frustration. Those feelings, those emotions will come from time to time. Resist them one way or the other. Find a way. All of us do not have the same coping mechanisms or, levels or tolerance levels for different things the same way. Our tolerance for different things are different for each individual, even between you and your partner. Your tolerance levels will be different. Know who has the capacity to cope, with certain things and nicely shift it. Can you discuss this with your mom? Okay. Yeah, we can come back to this later. But right now, can you talk with your mom? Don't make it look like I don't have time for you. It's your mom you should go to. No, there are certain things. The same way, mom, I think your dad has, yeah, I remember sometime we talked about it. I think he has a better information about this. Okay. You are not saying I don't have time for you, go to your dad. No. Like we said, it's about how we communicate the messaging which you want your child, your children to have. It's how we couch the message, the tone, the non-verbal expressions, which is part of what you are communicating. Oh, that's not what I meant, but you're not what I meant, but you're going like this, you're going like that. You, the child is going. Or you don't even notice the child is cringing. You didn't notice that. I've told you. You've told the child you can't reach me. At moments like that, even if that happened or has happened try to get back to apologize. Sorry, my reaction then wasn't right. Okay. Which takes me to a question here. Well, how can I connect deeply with more than one child when they all need different kinds of attention? Remember again, none of them apply to come to your family. You and your partner got together and agreed to have one child, two child, three child, four child, five child. Well, five children. Okay. Again, it's not everything you have money to buy, you should buy. Don't go about having children because you can have children. Have children that you can cater for, not even money. Okay, now this person did not say money. He's talking about time, engaging emotionally and otherwise. You might have all the money in the world to buy what, but we've said it in previous episodes. It's not your money that your children need at times. It's you, your attention. You're engaging with them for them to know that you are there for them to come to. So, coming back to this contribution from this community member, and I would say, how can I connect deeply with more than one child? Know your children. That helps you with engaging with them. Know your children. When a child comes to you and you already know that this child, when he or she comes to you, something is up. I go back to my son again. That's what, Dad, I'm okay. Something he has. I need to get ready. Yes, Didi, what? I was thinking, yeah, pay attention because when that first question comes out and you respond, like I always say, be ready for five more. So pay attention. But then, if you are into something at that point in time, let the child know. Okay, well, I get this. Okay, this is the first part of this. I know that I know more questions are coming. Can we discuss this later? And if your children are like my son, better get back because he will come back. That is it later now? Yeah. Okay. So how to deeply engage depends. One, you know your children, you know their needs for your feedback in what portions. There is a child you will explain something to once, the child gets it and goes on. There's another child that you have to explain that same thing two times, three times before that child gets it. They are not the same. They can't be the same. You are not, well, for your parents, your siblings, do you behave like if you have more than one sibling or if it's not only you that your parent had? Do you behave exactly the same way? Do you get things the same way your siblings? Even in school, did you get things the same way your classmates got it? First time, everybody? No, we are not all the same. So this way you should know your children. And then you are able, then would be able to, would be able to connect with them depending on their, your identified needs for each of them. There's a child that comes to you, he wants that attention, he don't want you to have time for any other. Agree. Well, I'm sure you remember you are not the member of this family, okay? Your brother, your sister, okay, I have to go do this. But don't get touchy. Look at that. We've been going on this for so long. Be nice. Or even that one that wants to come and be getting glued to you will find a way to also stay away and be getting glued to the phone, the tablet, or the laptop, or the television, as the case might be. Okay? Find time to engage, but define the engagement. The time, the nature, the place. Those are all the things that could come in when you are setting your boundaries. When I am in this particular situation, when I'm in this particular place, when it's time that don't let us do, it goes away. without you saying anything. Okay. Um, there's okay, this compliment here says, how do you handle moments when the child is rude or talks back? Do you still try to have a respectful conversation? Yes. You being respectful, you are teaching the child that there's a need for respect, mutual respect. Okay, respect is a two-way street. It needs to remain a two-way street. It needs to be mutual. Okay, points the behavior out to the child. You know you shouldn't speak like that, or you know you shouldn't be, making those kind of gesticulations. You know what we agreed on about talking back. Remind the child. Okay, engaging in a shouting bout wouldn't. The child grows up believing that that's the best thing to do, even when he or she has now to, relate with others outside, schoolmates, um, colleagues at work, or even eventually his or her own partner. Okay? Well, no, no. This is not a good behavior to engage in. You don't talk back. We agreed on that. Okay? Or I can see you are in a quarrelsome, okay? But talking back is not an attitude you will get any positive thing out of. You know, maybe when you have decided to behave appropriately, then you can come back. We can have this. Don't engage, don't return, but let the child know he or she is behaving in an inappropriate way. Be specific on what that inappropriate behavior is, okay? And suggest what the appropriate behavior should be and what would happen if their child now decides to, the child decides to continue with the talk back, let the child know. Of course, you have already agreed on consequences. Everything will keep going back to your ground rules, your boundaries, and all of that. You know, you know what we agreed on about talking back. You know what is going to earn you, right? You do know. So it's up to the child. Okay? You do not make new rules at that point. Making new rules would include you getting angry and then also talking back and exhibiting some anger. You two have broken your own boundaries and ground rules. Remind the child, that this kind of behavior would attract so for you. Okay? So we can have this conversation. It's tough for you to maybe, if you do not begin to feel I'm the authority figure. Why is he or she talking? That's a human thing. It's not easy to control yourself to say, we agreed, I am the daddy or the mommy thing comes to before. Why are you talking to I'm your father? The child knows your father before or the mother before, the talk back things started happening. And talk backs don't just start. Okay? That's the main backdrop to responding to this question or this contribution here. The thought back didn't just happen one day. You would have noticed that the child is in the habit of, no, you stop it much earlier. No, that's not here. That's not acceptable here. When we are talking, we listen. When I finished, you say yours, I say mine. Don't talk over me, I will not talk over you. So what you are asking the child not to do, you don't do. The child is giving you already, before he finishes, you're already talking over talking. The child begins to have maybe the kind of understanding that that's the best way to behave. You don't let people finish what they're saying before you, and then uh, anger issues come in and talk back happens. And don't say, oh, he's too small or she's too small to understand that. No, at that point, no, no, don't do that. Okay? If you want to ask a question about something that is said to you and or something we agreed you should do or not do, ask the question, but don't, talk back challenging. Raise your issues. Don't challenge. Don't talk back. You would have laid those behavior that are unacceptable bare for what they are, and you would state the appropriate behavioral pattern that would work. Okay, you don't leave anything blank. What does respect actually look like from a child's side? Because I am doing all this listening, but what should I expect back? Respect could mean taking turns, waiting for your turn. Okay? You are listening. The child also needs to learn how to stop and listen to get a feedback. If the child is not doing that, you need to point that out. Okay? I didn't interrupt you when you were telling me the things. Yes, okay, now, okay. Now don't interrupt. Now hear what I have to say about what you just told me. That is respect. The child gets to understand that, talking over people is not respectful. Okay? Again, mirror what you are expecting from the child. When you do that and the child does anything to the contrary, point out that inappropriate behavior, unacceptable behavior. I said, no, when you are talking, when you are, narrating what had happened, did I interrupt you? No. So don't interrupt. Try not to interrupt people. When, you could ask respectfully, can I say something? Or indicate by raising your finger or raising a hand to indicate that you want to say something. Okay? You can also agree on that. When we're having conversations, anybody that has any contribution to make, please always raise your hand. Everybody understand that. So when you see someone stand and you are ignoring it and you know they are the one breaking the rules, you now have to recognize the person. Respect must remain a two-way street. It must be mutual, even between yourself and your children. I used even as if I'm supposed to be saying something that's a big no. The even shouldn't even be there. The even should not be there. Okay? Respect must be mutual. It should remain mutual between yourself and your children. Respect them, they respect you. If any individual in the party, in the conversation, in the communication relationship, in the bond relationship, in the home, steps out of line, state what has, what stepping out of line means, and then replace with the suggested uh, behavioral pattern or the behavior that everybody's being respectful. So this is why we are going to start from us to such an interesting episode today. Thank you so much for being part of our show. It's still the Slow Parenting program podcast on Nostalgia Media. My name is Richie Adewusi. Join us again, same time next Wednesday. Questions on the chat on YouTube or at any of our social media handles. We'll get back to you. Yep.
Recording stopped. Recording in progress.